Hello everyone! So I'm super excited because today I get to play along with Christine Meyer, and we are going to be scraplifting each other. So you saw the layout that I picked of Christine's at the beginning of this video. This layout she did for Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. It was displayed at Creativation, and I loved it. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I loved it when I saw it, and I knew immediately when Christine asked if I wanted to do this collaboration with her. I was like, yes I do, and I know exactly what layout I'm using too. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting down some Acrotones paints on my glass media mat. I am just putting a blob of all these rainbow colors. I am just about out of all of this Acrotones, and they don't make it anymore. So I'm kind of on the lookout for another type of acrylic paint where you can just kind of buy the little jars of it. So if you have a good brand, let me know. These are the 3 photos we're going to be using today. Christine's layout, her layout is an 8x8. And so one 4x6 on her layout is going to kind of take up the same amount of space as my 3x4 layouts. And this cardstock I'm working on is a piece of cardstock from Vicki Boutin. It's one of her foundation papers. I'm just going to make a little pencil mark to show where my photo starts and stops. Christine used strips of paper on hers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rainbow of paint. So I'm just going to take the Acrotones, I'm going to take this wide brush. I just got some new brushes from Close to My Heart to try, and this was the first time I used them. I was really impressed with this one, so we'll see how the others work out if I like the small one for detailed brushing. But my other paintbrushes were getting really bad, so. I'm just creating a rainbow of color, and I'm actually going to end up doing 2 stripes of rainbows. So I just have some water and a paper towel, and I'm cleaning off my brush between the colors. And I really want the brush strokes to show. And if things kind of get like gooped up a little bit, I'm leaving it, because a little bit later on we're gonna dial back these colors a little bit. These colors are incredibly vibrant, very bright, and I want to dial them back a little bit. And you'll see how I do that at the end, but first I have to do this part. I have to get this paint down, and I have to let it dry and cure a little bit before I do the last little pieces. So you can see here how we have rainbow colors down the side of the page, and I'm just putting my last little coat of blue on. And we're going to set it aside just 5-10 minutes maybe, and it's going to dry. And then we're going to go ahead and line our photos up. Make sure that I have the paint the way I want it, and I know that that middle photo I'm going to back it. So the products I'm using are from my Click Kits Meadow Kit, and I'm going to back this middle picture with these 2 pattern papers. These are from the Crepe Paper Here and There collection, and I've used a lot of the papers and mixed them with the Alexandra Ranke papers in my collection, and I think that it turned out really well, because a lot of the papers in the 6x6 in the Here and There collection are very kind of neutral, muted colors, so they really set off some of the colors that were in the Alexandra Ranke papers. So I'm just going to go ahead here, and I'm going to add these 2 layers, 2 mats, and then I'm going to add some adhesive fun foam to the back of my photo so that it kind of gives it some dimension, and it kind of pops off the page as the middle photo. These pictures are of my nephew. He was at my house, and he was playing with the exact same paints that I used to create the swashes on the side. These Acrotone paints I have gotten so much use out of them. Tons of layouts. I did this with my nieces and nephews when they come. I always give them a little paper plate with just a little bit of paint on it to play with, and it's especially for this little guy. This is his art class, I guess, is when he comes to Aunt Sarah's house. So that's what these photos are of. And then we also painted rocks with these paints, so they were really, really useful, and I'm really sad that they're getting down to the end because they're not sold anymore, and they were really nice paints. So I'm just going to add some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to the back of my fun foam here, and then I am going to adhere everything down using wet adhesive, this Nuvo adhesive, because I'm putting it onto those painting strips, and I want to make sure that they're going to stick good. So we're going to do an acetate title, and I'm just going to adhere it with some staples, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this Alexandra Ranke paper with all of these paint tubes on it, and I'm going to use that as a lot of my embellishments. So here's kind of where I definitely strayed away from Christine's photo or layout. She just had the centerpiece and then her title at the bottom. My title is going to be up at the top, and I'm going to have 3 kind of clusters moving around the layout, not just the center cluster. So I'm just deciding where I want things to be placed and how I want things to go. I have a little bit of journaling I want to do. I'm going to use that photo frame from the crepe paper here in their collection to mark my date. And now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to trim off some of these glues and get those fussy cut. So I'm going to fussy cut a whole bunch of these paint tubes, and those paint tubes are going to be what I use in place of the butterflies on Christine's layout. So my next kind of job here is to fussy cut all these paint tubes, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to fussy cut these out, and then as I fussy cut them, I'm going to place them right onto my layout so I get the positioning and I get them exactly where I want them. So I'm just going to fussy cut them and then lay them down on my layout. And then we're going to do a whole lot of gluing. All again with the, my brain's not working today, FYI. All of them down. Okay. Still fussy cutting. One more guys, one more. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and staple down my Explorer. And I'm one of these people that if I put staples in one part of my layout, I need to put staples in other parts of my layout. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for other spots on my layout that I'm going to go ahead and add staples to. And I really love how this paint palette, which was part of the exclusive die cut kit, kind of just nestled right in there. Worked really well as part of my title. I'm going to use the word Explore for my title simply because I felt like this was the first time he'd ever painted. It was the first time he'd ever seen paint. It was the first time he'd ever touched paint, and I felt like he was really taking it all in. You can see on his face, like he was really taking it in. What he was doing, how he was going to do it is really cool. It was never the first time he'd seen paint, but his mom doesn't like mess, so it was definitely, she said to me, she's like, that's the first time he's ever played with paint. So it was kind of a cool, fun thing that I got to share with him. So I'm just going to continue to glue everything down where I want it, get it all situated on my layout. Apparently for this video, my husband is serenading us with Doctor Who music in the background. So if you hear that, that's what we're doing here. We've got Doctor Who music, blah, in the next room over. I am popping up some of these paint tubes with some Scrapbook adhesives by 3L foam adhesive, and then I'm also adding some staples in there. Next thing is, notice how this is still really, really bright, right? And I said before I wanted this to look more, I didn't want it to be as bright because I wanted I felt like it was kind of clashing with the muted colors of the paint tubes. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking some Liquitex Heavy Body Acrylic, just a wee little bit, and I'm just kind of dry brushing, running it over just a bit of those paint swatches. And what it's doing is it's going to kind of settle into the crevices a bit of the paint. I got a little bit of a thicker area there, which was not my intention, but all right, we'll go with it. And so I'm just going to kind of brush it over, and it's going to settle into some of the crevices from the dried color acrylic paint. And I really love, I think that just was like the perfect touch. So be sure to head over to Christine's channel and check out what she did for stealing my layout, which one she chose and how she decided to interpret it. I'm sure she did a fabulous job. She's amazing. One of my dearest friends here in YouTube and Facebook. So here is my completed finished layout. Have a fabulous, fabulous Saturday, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.